puberty is a time where, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of sort of trying to work out who you are, a lot of being potentially uncomfortable with your body changes, especially in a very sexualized society. And we need to be supporting young people through this, and telling them the truth about these things, rather than just kind of saying, oh yeah, that, if you think you're a boy or you think you're a girl, well then, yeah, that's what it is.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the Coalition for Marriage YouTube channel. We're talking today with Dr. Julie Maxwell, who's well known to the organisation. Julie, of course, you are a paediatrician. You're not practicing at the moment, as far as I understand. You can correct me on that, but actually you're spending all of your time at the moment looking after a wonderful organisation called Lovewise. Would you like to say hi to our viewers and our listeners?
Yeah, hi, great to be with you today.
Good to talk to you, Julie. And I think we're going to discuss something, an article that was recently in the Telegraph, which you will have a view on, being a paediatrician. The idea that in the last 12, 13 years or so, the increase among young people of those identifying as trans has multiplied by 50 times. And the article points out, well, it's even if it were a case that society is more receptive to people discovering their own true personalities, why would it only be young people, and why such a dramatic increase? And it points to the idea that maybe something else is happening. I wonder if you could elaborate upon that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. There has just been this huge increase. We know that kind of from referrals to the gender identity service. And what's interesting is not even just that it's a massive increase in referrals generally, but the majority of that increase is teenage girls. So it's a very specific cohort of the population. And like you say, if this was just due to increased acceptance of transgender identity, and people realizing who they really were, then we'd also see a corresponding increase in older women coming forward and saying they're transgender, middle-aged women and older women, and of course we're not seeing that. And in fact, sort of equally kind of looking at that, what we are seeing is quite a few of these women that do identify as transgender, then actually as they get into later life, into sort of later on into their mid-20s, early 30s, they many of them detransition and actually go back to living as a woman, because they realise that they really are a woman. So not only do we not see a corresponding increase in older women suddenly realising they're transgender, what we see is that many of these girls actually who thought they were transgender actually realise later on that they are girls.
And by that point, of course, in some cases, a lot of damage has been done, and most of that damage is irreversible.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, there was a statistic recently, I think, came out of WPATH, and they, for a long time, they've insisted that the detransition rate, so the rate of people transitioning to look like, to want to be the opposite sex, and then wanting to then return to their biological sex, was less than 1%. But it seems that they're now admitting that it could be around about 30%. I suspect it's higher than that over time. But that's quite a huge admission, that actually this is a number of them will regret what they've done.
So it seems to be that some of this, at least, and if not a lot of it and most of it, is social contagion, kind of environmental factors which are having a massive effect on things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of cohort of teenage girls is a particularly vulnerable cohort of girls. I mean, going back in my career kind of 20 years ago, though that sort of cohort of teenage girls, you would often see these clusters of girls with anorexia or self-harming, that kind of thing. And so it's a kind of a common thing in that age. And what we're seeing now is that those kind of girls, sometimes they will also have anorexia or other mental health problems, but many of them are identifying as transgender or non-binary.
That's the other thing the article mentions, which you will have a view on as well, is the fact that actually often people who present with trans identifying features have lots of other complex mental health issues going on at the same time.
Yeah, many of them have all sorts of depression, anxiety, all sorts of things. That that if you dig into what's gone on for them in their lives, many of them may have had family difficulties. Some of them may have been abused in some kind of way. They may have had difficult relationships. All sorts of things that may lead to them not wanting to be girls.
And the funny thing is, of course, whatever's happening in the US at the minute, over here in the UK, we've still got a government who wants to push forward with a ban on so-called conversion therapy. So you're not allowed to do anything other than affirm these things, even though all the evidence points to the fact that, well, this might actually be a transient thing and a reaction to something else completely.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of all part of growing up for these teenage girls, and boys as well. But puberty is a time where there's a lot going on. There's a lot of sort of trying to work out who you are, a lot of being potentially uncomfortable with your body changes, especially in a very sexualized society. And we need to be supporting young people through this, and telling them the truth about these things, rather than just kind of saying, oh yeah, that if you think you're a boy or you think you're a girl, well then that's what it is.
Or you think you're a cat.
Or a cat, yes.
Something equally ridiculous.
Yes.
And now the article kind of restricted itself to trans, but actually I think we reported a couple of weeks ago information around the same kind of age group doubling in those who identify as lesbian or gay or bisexual. So the contagion isn't restricted to trans. It goes across the whole LGBT spectrum, really.
Yeah. And that really, to me, seems to be a result of teaching children who are going through puberty. They're starting to learn about or starting to experience sexual attraction or not experience it yet. And they're having all these changes to their body. And if you kind of start confusing them with talking about same-sex relationships, and if you're a boy and you love another boy, then you're gay, and it might be that they're just really good friends. And they haven't experienced sexual attraction yet to a girl, so they don't know what that is. So they think, well, I must be gay, and likewise with the girls. So there's so much going on that if we're teaching them the wrong things, or not teaching them the right things, because I think sometimes it's not even that. Schools may not even be actively teaching them LGBT stuff, although many of them are. I've just been looking at a school RSE policy a few minutes ago, and some awful stuff in there. But even if they're not actively teaching them that, what they're not teaching them is a big void, which then social media and stuff is kind of filling in. So if they're not teaching them about marriage, they're not teaching them the good stuff about their bodies changing, they're not teaching them what being a boy, what being a girl is, then media, their friends, social media, etc., is going to tell them something different.
Yep. So where can we go to get more information about this stuff? I know that Lovewise do an awful lot on this, and in fact, you've got a conference coming up, have you, in March? We have got
a conference coming up. So at Lovewise, we produce resources that are predominantly, a lot of them do have a specifically Christian focus, but not all of them. So some of our resources that are available for schools, I was in a school just this week teaching on marriage, puberty, growing up. But a lot of our stuff is Christian, but there are many Christians out there, either parents of children who are concerned about what's being going on in school, or teachers who are battling with, what do I do here? How do I teach this? So yeah, we've got a conference on the 22nd of March, I think it is, and we've got two really great speakers. Matthew Roberts is coming to speak, and his title of his talk is Identity Natives, How to Speak to Young People About LGBTQ+ and Who They Really Are. So I think that will be a really interesting talk. And then we've also got Lizzie Harewood, who is the heads up the Association for Christian Teachers. So she is going to be talking specifically to kind of around relationships and sex education, how as Christian parents and Christian teachers we can navigate all of that. So that'll be a really great opportunity to hear them. It's in person in London, but it's also available on Zoom as well. So people can join on Zoom if they can't make it to London. So where would they go to get a ticket or to register for Zoom? So if you contact the Lovewise office, then there's a Eventbrite link that you can go to and book.
Lovewise web address, simply lovewise.org.uk.
It is, yeah.
Excellent. So people can go there, find out, come and join you. And what sort of exorbitant fee are you charging for attendance?
Nothing. It is
Nothing. Marvelous.
Free to attend. Bring your own packed lunch, and obviously donations welcome. We do kind of run completely as a charity on donations, but no, it's free to attend.
And I think it's great, rather than just wringing our hands and wondering, oh, the state of things, woe is the world. Actually, there's an organisation who are producing alternative, great materials. And you're right, a lot of our supporters, they come from all faiths and none, but the majority will be Christians of some flavour or another. So get along to the Lovewise conference, get some resources, get some understanding from some great speakers, and maybe instead of just woeing about what's going on, we can actually start to change it for the better and get some materials to give to schools, suggest to teachers that they use, and or even teach our own kids actually what's right.
Yeah,
so absolutely. Wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I got into all of this because I discovered what my children were going to learn at school nearly 20 years ago. And Lovewise material is what I've used with my children. It's great.
Fantastic. Julie Maxwell, Dr. Julie Maxwell, always a privilege to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Goodbye.